Hello, and welcome to FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me while I chat FPL. Please like to get the video out there. At the time of recording, the channel is at about 108, 120 subscribers, and it's my dream. It's my dream D-Unit to get it up to 1,000 subscribers by the start of next season. So if you could help me do that by hitting the subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. Thank you so much if you do this. And please check out channel memberships by pressing the join button if you'd like to support the channel even further. So welcome to another interview in the FPL Meet the Manager / Meet the Content Creator interview series, where I ask a lovely member of the FPL content creation community on to chat about their experiences of FPL and content creation, their thoughts on FPL and mental health, and we have a general chat about FPL and how their season is going towards the end. So before I introduce our guest for this week, I quickly wanted to say here that this may be the last interview in the series coming out this season. And if it's not the last one, it will certainly be the second to last one. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who's come on the interview series so far. This will be about the 30th interview I've done in the series so far. And if you told me back in October when I started it, I'd still be doing interviews 6 or 7 months later in game week 38. Let alone that I'd have had like massive names like Mark Southerns, Let's Talk FPL Andy, Az and Prazon, etc. I'd have called you a lunatic, D-Unit. I'd have thrown you in the asylum myself. And also, thanks so much for you guys for watching, liking and subscribing. It really does mean the world to me. And I wouldn't still be doing these interviews without you guys showing your support for the channel. So I do plan on continuing the interview series into next season. I don't know if it will go the entire season, but certainly I've got a list of 5 or 6 people like Gianni and the FPL FML guys who are already lined up to come on early next season, and I've got an even longer list of people that I want to get on. So while I'm planning on continuing the interview series, it will, like most FPL content, disappear probably after this interview or maybe after the next one, and then I'll suddenly appear again, hopefully in your playlist sometime after the game is released in July-ish. But just to say again, thank you so much again for watching and subscribing and supporting the channel, and particularly this interview series, which is probably the thing that this channel is best known for. So with that out of the way, for the latest entry in the series, we have the pleasure of being by the second guest in 3 weeks from the great land of Australia. After I had FPL Mez on last week, a man, and I'm going to quote him here, D-Unit, who described me, said, I must get you on, as this is Andrew FPL Nightmare, as he is going to be bloody massive next season, and the biggest one. He's going to be one of the biggest FPL content creators out there, and he's currently very high up in the world rankings as well. D-Unit, thanks so much for coming on, mate. How you doing?
Mate, it's a pleasure to be on. Absolute pleasure. What an intro. I mean, FPL Nightmare is selling me up the river there. There's no pressure to perform next season, is there?
He did literally, like, because we're in a group chat, aren't we? And I think he must have maybe like seen you on there, and then he went out and watched some of a couple. He's like, Gary, you got to watch this guy. You got to watch this guy. He's like, he's going to be huge. He's going to be huge. So yeah, no pressure, mate. No pressure. Yeah, I mean, you're doing well this season at least.
Yeah, well, it was really funny. I've been talking about it for years, and like I lived in the UK up until from 20. I moved there in 2024. It was meant to be a 1-year sabbatical from Australia, and I loved it that much. I ended up staying 3 years. It was only because of the fact that I met my missus, and she was like, "I want to go to Australia because that looks really good." And I was like, I don't know if it's really that good. There's no football over here, and I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to watch the football. But she was adamant that we're going. And I was like, all right, fair enough. So we did. But yeah, I think I really got into FPL a lot more when I was there. And then I'd never watched. I'm not going to lie. I never watched a video on. I didn't realize that there was content creators out there. My mate actually told me about Let's Talk FPL. It's ironic that you interviewed him. But I was like, I remember I went and watched a video in pre-season, and I was like, I reckon I can do this.
So we're going to get on to that. We're going to get on to all that, mate. Don't worry, we're going to cover all that. So when do you live in the UK?
2020 to the end of 2022.
Oh, okay. So you're during COVID, basically, then, wasn't the?
I came. Hold on. I came 4 weeks before they closed the country down. I timed my perfection perfectly.
You couldn't have escaped even if you'd wanted to. Then.
Nah, you couldn't. I remember them banging on the pots, and I was like, "What's going on here?" I was like, "I just wanted to go for a run outside."
So, mate, I usually start off by asking, well, a few general things about yourself. Where are you from? Liverpool, I'm guessing. Joking. Who do you support? When did you, first memories of football? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Look, this is a very interesting story. My mum's from Portsmouth originally, so I'm actually a dual citizen. I've got an Australian passport and a British passport. And ironically, I probably should have supported Portsmouth, but the very first game of football I ever watched on TV was when I was 4 years old, and I'm 38 now, and it was Boxing Day, and it was Aston Villa against Manchester United, and that was the day I started supporting Manchester United. Before anyone sits there and says, you're just a glory hunter, they hadn't won anything at that point, but they started winning soon after I started watching, so maybe I was a good luck charm.
So when's that? A late 80s? But you'd have been born in like late 80s, would you, or mid 80s?
86, yeah, born in 86.
86, so maybe the early 90s then.
Yeah, I think it was from memory. It was the Christmas or the Boxing Day of 91 or whatever. I was around then. Whenever Aston Villa played Man United, that was the year.
Yeah, because that was the first year they won it off of Leeds, isn't it? The Premier League, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so sport Man United, that's your first memory of football. Okay, you covered. And so when did you? How long have you lived in Australia for, and how long have you been over here, like throughout the whole of your life?
So I always dreamt about, like, when I grew up, I was a mad football player. I played up front. I've actually got, it's in the wash because I wore it today because Man United actually won overnight. But my favourite ever player for Man United was Ruud van Nistelrooy. Now, if I've got my hair a certain way, you can see the resemblance. If you go and look up Ruud van Nistelrooy on the internet and then you look at me on some of my videos, you can see it.
Yeah, he does, because he always had a bit of a stubble as well. I don't want to say a beard, but he always had a bit of stubble out there, didn't he? Is he? Are you your favourite player, Man United player?
Yeah, he's my favourite one of all time at the moment. Currently, I mean, we've only got one good player at the moment, so it's pretty easy to pick. It's Bruno Fernandes. It's the only bloke that shows up every week. Yeah, I saw
someone. I think it was FPL Fraser posted earlier today. By the way, we're recording this just after the deadline in game week 36. 35, isn't it? Game week
35.
He posted like Bruno Fernandes sticking it to all the fans who wanted to get rid of him this season, because I think it was 19 goals, 18 assists in all competitions. It's pretty ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's actually created the most chances of any player in world football this year.
Yeah, that was
if he played in a better team with people that actually knew what they were doing, if he wasn't surrounded by like the idiots like Hoyland and Xerxes who have zero goal threat, he'd be talking about in like Player of the Year candidate. But he's just surrounded by idiots.
I mean, if they get to the Champions League by winning the Europa League, do you reckon? I mean, you can't consider it a good season, but do you think the manager will? You could consider it acceptable.
No, Amron's even said it's not even going to save the season. I would agree with that.
Really?
I think that their biggest problem was that they unfortunately, the fans got excited when Erik ten Hag won the FA Cup last season. I was not excited. I thought they should. I was like, brilliant, we won, great night out. I should have sacked him the next day because
100%.
the league form doesn't lie. And if the writing was on the wall, and then you saw like the play, and like I have this argument with Man United fans all the time. They go, who's to blame for like the transfers or whatever? I was like, Erik ten Hag picked these players.
Yeah.
He progressively sold players that were better and bought in players that were significantly inferior on stupid money. I was like, I blame him for like the fact that he's probably set the club back at least 5 years with the signings he made.
I had blame you got to blame Radcliffe for not sacking him, really, aren't you? Because
Oh yeah, he fumbled that decision so
he
bad.
did, yeah. Especially because what was it? There was a game. Was it they lost 4-0 at home to Crystal Palace shortly before the FA Cup final? Like, I was amazed. Surely then you've got to decide to give him the boot. I don't know.
Well, I think they were. They'd agreed to
Yeah.
sack him, and then all of a sudden he won. And like no one expected him to win, but he didn't win that. The players won that. Like the likes of Casemiro and that had worldy days, and they literally were like, "Well, we've played like crap all season, but we want to win." So that's what they did.
And they almost went out to Coventry as well. Just remembering that, didn't they?
That was. I remember watching that game, and I was like, "That was saved by like the thinnest VAR line you've ever seen in your life."
What's your best memory of being a United supporter, mate? I'm guessing it wasn't a recent one.
Ironically, so like going to Old Trafford was probably the highlight when I first got to the UK. I actually went to 2 games before they locked it down, so I went twice in the 2 weeks prior to them shutting it down.
Oh, nice.
I went to a Watford game where they won 3-0. That was pretty comfortable. But then I went to the Manchester derby, and I saw that was the day when Bruno Fernandes clipped it through on a free kick to Anthony Martial, who put it away, and then Scott McTominay with that. Edison cleared it, and Scott McTominay hit it like just a first timer from like 30 yards, and it went in. And it was like the pouring rain in like the 92nd minute of the game, and then you knew that we'd won 2-0. I was like, this is a brilliant feeling. I want to watch Liverpool and beat them now.
That was just after he signed, wasn't it? January
It was,
2020.
yeah, that mad 6 months.
Yeah, he was mad 18 months really, because he was brilliant the next season as well, weren't he? His numbers were. I think he was more expensive than Salah at one point, or at least they cost the same amount of money, I'm sure, the second season. Anyway, so when did you first get into FPL or fantasy, a different sort of fantasy football if it wasn't FPL?
So I used to, well, I've always played for, being in Australia, we have AFL fantasy, and it's a bit different. So the game works slightly differently. So players' prices go up based on the points that they score rather than how many people are transferring them in. So that was something new to get used to, because when I first got introduced to FPL, I was like, why are people's prices going up? Like he did nothing on the weekend. He got 1 point. How's his price going up?
It's got a double game week.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that. And it's taken me I would say that this year, like in other years, I've had weeks where I've just sort of forgotten like the deadlines or whatever. And like this year, I was like, if I'm going to start making content, I got to be on it.
So you've been playing for a few seasons, or?
I think this is my 5th season in total that I've ever played. So and it's ironic. I've watched the Premier League since I was 6. And I think FPL's been going for the amount of time I've been alive, from what I can work out. I think you used to have to ring up and lodge your transfers or something, or send it in the post.
FPL's been going since 2024, 25, but there's been fantasy football around since the early 90s. Yeah, probably since you were alive. But yeah, they weren't FPL strictly, but fantasy football has been, yeah.
That's brilliant. I was like, because I didn't understand why I never did it, because I love football. Like I could sit there on a Saturday, because we don't have the 3 p.m. blackouts over here. I'll sit there and I'll watch the early kickoff on a Saturday, which is normally during this time of the year when it's the summer hours in the UK. It starts at 7:30 here in the evening, the early kickoff on a Saturday. Then I watch all the games on like a goal rush thing from like the 10 o'clock. It starts at 10 o'clock here, but in the UK it's 3 o'clock. And then I watch the late game. So by the time I go to bed, it's like 2:30 in the morning. But I've watched like 6-7 games of football. So it's brilliant, because I love football, but I just didn't realize that FPL was a thing until like not that long ago.
Do you know Trigger Lips? I
can't say I do.
He's a very well-known fantasy football person. He's had a YouTube channel for a couple of years, but he's one of the ones that I think he's the only person ever to have 5 consecutive top 1K ranks. He comes on here and streams to me quite a bit, but he's in New Zealand, and he gets up at like midnight or whatever every game week, and then watches the games like all the way through. So it sounds like such a different experience watching it out there.
Yeah, it is because like I sit there and because I want to watch. Like I can look at the stats and be like, oh yeah, this player is a good player based on that. But it doesn't beat watching the game of football. Like you can see things, and so like for me, I'm like going, I have to watch it. So like I feel like during the season, I'm actually looking forward to the end of the season so I can actually get some sleep for the next month and a bit.
So, I'll age myself slightly here. Well, I'm not that much older than you, and also show what a dork I am. In the early 90s, I used to play this game where you had a pretend team. Like, it wasn't a real team, but it was a bit like, Football Manager, but they were pretend players. And every week you picked your team, put your captain on, did your transfers, and you had to post in the mail your team off. And then I don't know how they decided. Then you'd get so that was like on a Friday, and then on a Tuesday you'd get your results back. And you'd have to pick your team and everything. It was incredibly dorky. I think it was like you had to.
That sounds bad. I would love that. I was like, imagine. I think like each week, like a lot of people don't do FPL challenge, but I just do it for a bit of fun at the end of my deadline streams and just whack it together. And it makes you play the game different. Like this week I think it's double points for Brighton, Newcastle.
When's the deadline?
So I've literally picked.
When's the deadline for FPL challenge? Is that a different deadline? I haven't done it since last season.
So it's a bit different. It's a bit like AFL Fantasy, actually. It's a rolling deadline until like the last game. So as long as your player that you picked hasn't actually played, you can transfer them out for someone else if you change your mind up until when that player plays. So once they've played or the game started, you can't bring that player in anymore and you can't move them out.
Okay. Yeah, they've had some good ones, but they've had some crap ones as well. Like, what was the one someone was telling me about in a recent interview? Can't have any players over 5 million. Not the funnest.
I didn't mind that one. The 1 week I didn't like was when you had to pick players only from promoted teams. I was like, what is this week?
It's not really.
No one did anything. They all just sucked.
Yeah, it's not really increasing the enjoyment of the game. So, do you have any particular early memories of fantasy football that stick out, or any memories in general?
Yeah, I'll tell you my very first thing. So this is the importance, I think. Like at the start of the season, it's quite handy, I think, to watch. If I'd known this, I would definitely have watched someone about how you play the game before you play it for the first time. So I thought at the start, you just got chips and you can play a chip every week, and they just kept refreshing. So in my very first week of FPL, I was like, oh, triple captain. I read what it said. I was like, triple points for your captain. I was like, we'll play this chip.
Oh, well, you thought you could choose one every week?
Yeah. And it just kept coming back. So I was like, I remember the very first week, I was like, I pressed it and I played it. And as soon as I did it, my mate was like going after the deadline and he looked at my team and he goes, why have you played your triple captain? I was like, why not? I get a chip every week. And he goes, you get it once a year. And I was like, what? No one told me that.
There was one year that a lot of people used it. I think Salah had Norwich or something, who were like the whipping boys, and he did do really well. He got 3 or 4 goals, but I think apart from that, I can't imagine it ever being a particularly good decision to do.
Ironically, it didn't go as bad as what it could have been. I picked Harry Kane, and he got a goal and an assist, and he ended up, I think, on 13 points. So, ironically, it wasn't the worst triple captain ever, but it was proper luck that it worked out as good as it did because I had no idea what I was doing.
Well, it's better than my one this season, Isaac.
When did you do him?
When was it? Christ. Must have been the second double game week, 34. Was that the second
32.
Double game? No, that was the
32.
That was the first double game week, wasn't it?
No, that was 24.
Whichever. No, oh, sorry. I meant out of the two that were next to each other. So not the one.
Oh, 30. What, you played him 33 on Isaac?
33, yeah, that must have been it. It was the one Crystal Palace and whoever else had their double game week, and then the week when the 4 teams had the double game week, I played it then. So I think I played
wow.
bench
so what did you play in the first one then? Or did you play nothing?
Bench boosts. Or maybe I played the other way around, mate. I can't remember. But he got 11 points, I know that.
How'd your bench boost go?
Oh. Don't even ask. I think 9 points or something like that.
You did better than me.
Really?
Did better than me. I was like, the one thing I regret, I sat there and like on paper, bench boost 32 looks so good in my team. I had Bart Verbruggen versus Leicester, and I hate that, man. There's one player I wish I did not own this season. I've owned him twice, and he's done nothing for me the entire time I've owned him. He literally plays like Bart Simpson. He's not Bart Verbruggen. When he's in my team, he might as well be Bart Simpson. He's no good. And then I had Kukurea, who on paper had an amazing fixture, but he also blanked. And then I had, who did I have? I had Saka for 1 point off the bench, and I expected him to start by this week. It was the third week. And then the other one was, I can't remember, some other spud that just sucked.
My worst one ever was 4 points. I mean, that's going back a few seasons. It was 2 Leeds players who didn't even play or something like that.
Oh no! So I feel like bench boost 33. I didn't miss out too much because like it was pretty similar. Like there wasn't a lot. Like Dan Burn had -2 for a lot of people. There was one Bissaka who didn't play. There was Areola who obviously blanked, but like. Originally, I played my bench boost thinking there would be a potential double game week in 36. Now there hasn't. I'm now wish I'd played my triple captain in 32 and my bench boost 36 because bench boost 36 for my team actually still looks pretty good on paper. And I'm like, it's just one of those things. That's the luck of FPL. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
100%. So moving on that now a bit. So you're playing FPL, and I believe then at the start of this season, unless I'm wrong, based on your videos, you decide I'm going to become an FPL content creator, basically. So what inspired that?
So this is really good question. So I've always sat there and like as you can see behind me, I've got a bunch of gaming collectibles. Now I used to do unboxing videos.
That's an incredible background.
Yeah, like I've got some really limited edition stuff in there as well. It's like only limited like 1,000 pieces. But originally my mate was like, "Oh, you need to do a YouTube channel because my unboxing videos are exactly like how I talk now, and I just do random stuff on them." Really.
So I interrupted you. So you're making boxing videos before? So we said
unboxing videos. So I get like hold on, I'll show you. I've got an example.
Go on, mate.
So. I've got to be releasing this on a different channel, FYI, because I want to do it. So this is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Okay. So I just make videos unboxing collector's editions and the games and showing off all the things pretty much.
So you got a second channel as well?
I'm going to, but okay. I haven't uploaded a video on it yet, but I just want to make sure the first one's popping before I upload it.
I've got a film channel which I started at the same time as this one, but unfortunately FPL sort of... takes over. When you got an FPL channel, it's hard to find time to make videos for anything else.
You're telling me. I was like, I have no free time.
Sorry, mate. So I interrupted you. So you were making the unboxing videos or thinking about them?
Yeah. So and then because I was in the UK, I owned. Hold on, I'll show you this one as well. So that's all good. I always have things on hand so I can show people when I'm in my videos.
Yeah.
So I've got an Alienware RX-17 laptop. I saw
that because I watched your video on setting up your studio last night. I'm an Alienware person as well. I'm on an Alienware. I don't know what it's called. It cost me $2,000 though. This laptop's some sort of gaming laptop.
Well, this one, I was in the UK and I bought this one, and it cost me, I think from memory, about £4,000 because I got all the specs on the top end. And I was like, so it's annoying though because when I'm away on holiday. It makes the videos fine, but for some weird reason, the screen brightness is on my setup. I've got a Samsung 57-inch, the LCD 4K screen, and I don't know if that's just such a better screen than that one that it looks so different. But it really annoys me because you can tell I'm on holiday because the screen brightness on my videos looks different.
Yeah,
but things. But originally I was doing that. And then my missus and I had this discussion about doing things about what do we want to do with life or whatever. And I was like, well, I've saved up this money. I really want to buy a high-end PC, and then I want to kind of just make some videos and stuff. So originally it was meant to be unboxing videos. And then my mates were like, I'm a very competitive person in general. And my mate's like going, oh, and I was like going, oh, and then he goes, oh, I watch FPL, like Let's Talk FPL and stuff, and like FPL Raptor and stuff. And I was like going, and so as I said, I'd never watched a content video until this season, like before. And then I watched it and I was like going, mate, I tell you what, I'm going to start making videos and you follow my advice, and I'm telling you, you'll win your league. Just thinking, I can do that. And then I was like going, all right. So at the start of the year, I think I was averaging one video a week. And if you go back and look at my first videos this season, my God, they were bad. Like I was like talking good stuff, like the same as I'm talking now, but there was no graphics. It was just me in the app fooling around. And it, like, to be honest, it was shit. It was shit. But then I was like going, and then I was in the UK and I was like, oh, I'm starting to get some subscribers. Someone really liked this differential video. I was like, okay, I can probably, and then I was like, and then I looked at their graphics. I was like, how hard would it be to just make them myself? And like, obviously that's their job. Like they do it full time. They don't go to work and like what I'm doing. Like I'm a deputy principal 9 till 5, and then I come home and I spend about 20 minutes putting my graphics together, and I don't have time to edit videos. I literally just do one takes, and I literally have it set up so I can do screen transitions and quickly flick between my graphics without having to stop the video and edit it. Otherwise I'd be sitting there, I'd never get a video out because I wouldn't have the time. So like that's improved. But it started off just like, I'm just going to do it for my mates. And then it's kind of snowballed, particularly the last 10 game weeks from like, a couple of hundred subscribers to now. I think this week we just clocked over 1,500. I'm like, how? I'm like, how do people find me entertaining?
I looked. I hope you don't mind me saying this. I looked because I looked at your numbers and I noticed they boosted up. I reckon it's because you got your rank on there. I reckon that's what's getting you them. I'm not saying that's what's keeping them. That's probably you, but that's probably what's getting you that sudden. Because you were in the top 1K for a while, weren't you?
I was, yeah, very, very. But it was weird because like I joined the group and then they're like, oh, you should be boosting your rank or whatever. I was like, I put them on. Yeah, but like I feel like I'd gone from when I got to 500. I was like, that was the milestone because all of a sudden you can offer memberships or whatever it is you want to do, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, just to explain to the viewers, 500 subscribers. That is, you can offer memberships, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can get like super chats and other things if you've got like the watch hours and stuff. And the watch hours was never a problem. It was just like getting the subscriber count. And unfortunately, I'm like, because I'm sure that YouTube, this is a thing. Because I'm based in Australia, my content gets sent out to relative area, and the majority of the FPL fan base isn't here. Like there's obviously a lot of expats that live in Australia and stuff like that, but trying to grow your channel from scratch here on a subject that really is half a world away is quite difficult without using like a VPN, and I don't use a VPN. So I found that when I was in the UK and I was uploading these videos when I was there for a month, my subscriber count just grew fairly quickly.
Oh, so you can only change that with a VPN?
I think so, yeah, from my knowledge. I've said I live in the UK, and it's definitely not pushing my stuff there more often than not, because most people are going, oh, another Aussie FPL like YouTuber. I was like going, all right, so the people from Australia are getting this. I don't really want the people from Australia getting this. I want the people that are in Europe getting this, because hopefully they find me a bit different.
Yeah, because they say the FPL is an international game, and it is, but I know about 80% of my viewers are from the UK. I'm guessing you probably have something similar here. I mean, maybe it is an international game, but certainly the people who watch content, not all of them, but a lot of them seem to be from the UK, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've got like this WhatsApp chat, like because I just love talking football really more than anything else, and we've got people in this, and like it's free because like for me, I'm like going, I don't want to be charging people. I was like, I'd rather people sit there and go, all right, I'm going to pay a subscription fee as like a paid subscriber based on the fact that they enjoy my content rather than they're getting something behind it. So like stuff that like other content creators, like the big ones, hide behind like their membership. I'm like, hey, I want to talk FPL, so you can come and do it for free. But if you think what you're getting is good, then feel free to give me whatever you think. So I've got a different way of looking at it, because obviously it's not my main job. So for me, I make my living in what I do during the day. This is more just for fun than anything else.
No,
and
so
the fact that people enjoy it is even better.
yeah, so I mean, I've got channel memberships. I've only got 7 members, but I think I get about, once YouTube takes its money, I get about £3.50 a month, which, you know, is like, I'd earn that in 15 minutes in my day job, you know. But it's nice to let people show that they appreciate what you're doing. That's the main thing, reason
Exactly.
I opened it. This is my completely out of personal interest. What would you be opening in the box opening videos? Because I've seen people, they like buy stuff from, like, you know, from airports. You can buy like used carry cases, and then they'll open those. And they're quite, I've only watched a couple, but they're quite hilarious. What would you have been opening? Stuff that you, but then there's other ones where it's people you buy, things you buy, and I've seen other ones like you know, the big YouTube channels. Their fans will send them gifts in, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much for buying me this."
I did. So generally speaking, I was a mad gamer growing up. So like, I love playing video games. Ironically, in another world, if esports was a thing when I was 18, I was actually the world's #1 player at Age of Empires 3. I actually was the top in the leaderboards for about 2 years. Like, I was that good at the game. Unfortunately, I actually played an esports tournament. Back then, it was like just becoming a thing, like super early, before there was actually mad money involved. I played a competition. I won with someone that was also from the UK. I can't remember what his real name was, but his tag was White Irish King. We played this tournament and we won £200. I was like, today, if we'd played that same tournament and esports was as big as it is now, we probably would have won £200,000, and I wouldn't be making FPL videos.
bit of a tangent. Did you see the whole thing about what's his name? The guy who owns Twitter.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, pretending that he could play this game. I can't remember which one it was, and it's basically didn't even know how to control. It was basically like pretending he was the best player in the world, but he'd obviously been getting other people to play it through because he didn't even know the basic controls.
That sounds like an Elon Musk thing.
Yeah.
Probably ban me off X after saying that.
Yeah, I actually blocked him. And then all of a sudden I went, I better not, just so, you know, he doesn't find out. And like hide, but so I decided to unblock him after that. But have your experiences changed? I know it's only been like a very short time you've been creating content, like, but have your experience is changed, or anything you feel you've learned over the course of the season doing it?
To be honest with you, I was like going, I feel like from what I've been able to gauge, lots of people love, like when I look at my most successful videos, people love the chip strategy ones, particularly when it comes to like chip season. I actually gained, I think, 150 subscribers off one video, which I was like,
was that your wild?
What's going on here? I don't know what this is, but this is pretty cool.
I saw you.
Then I also, when I was
is that a wild card one? I saw you had a lot of views on the wild card one.
No, I was like, it was like literally just my updated chip strategy for, and I think I released it during that international break between 29 and 30. And yeah, I just talked about like what I was going to do when I was going to play the rest of my chips, and people seem to love it. Yeah. But then my other most popular videos have been like my differential ones, which I do on a Tuesday, where like I literally look there and I look, and like they change each week, and I try and base it based off the fixtures and like my gut feel on like certain players. So like this week, before Collins had got his assist in a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest, in my video this week, I was like, Collins is such a good buy, particularly with Brentford's run coming up. No one's got him. He's owned by 2.5% of the comp or whatever, but no one's talking about him. And like, that's how I bought Phil Foden, was like, and quite often the players are based on that video, because I want to be slightly different, because I feel like a lot of people look at the big content creators and they copy exactly what they're doing. So like the template draft for like Wildcard 30, which was really interesting, because I chose not to look at any of their videos, because I was like, I'm going to base the draft off off what I think is best. And then I couldn't believe how many players that I had picked that had just been like pushed by everyone else, which was kind of annoying because like I hate having the same team as everyone because then there's no chance to gain. I mean, there's obviously no chance to lose if everyone's got the same players. And like, I suppose at the rank I was at, maybe that was kind of good. But I at that point, I was like, the game became a little bit boring. So like the doubles and blanks, the fact that there is none, I think is great because everyone's teams for the next 4 weeks, I think will become quite divergent based on the fact that there are so many good, like forwards in particular, the next 4 weeks. I think there's like 6 or 7, 8 forwards that you could easily pick from. So hopefully that means that the game opens up a little bit.
Yeah, I know you're saying you didn't watch content till this season, but it happens every single year at this, from like game week 30, you know, the engaged players, the teams, you know, because everyone tends to play their wild card, tends to play their free hit. Do you know what I mean? It always seems to go the same way. That, I mean, it's good because I think it boosts up people who are engaged in content above sort of the average non-engaged players that maybe aren't doing so well. But at the same time, it means all of us have very similar teams, which is a bit, as you say, boring. Go on, mate.
That's why I didn't free hit in 34. Like, because I saw how many people were free hitting and I was like, I want to try and dodge this. I ended up taking a -8. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for the fact that all those defenders, I would say like there was a lot of luck involved in that free hit 34 because like so many people had Sessegnon, so many people had Ait-Nouri, so many people had Jose Sarr, and those 3 players in particular, in reality, all probably should have blanked other than Ait-Nouri's assist. Based off the fact that Jose Sarr saving a penalty is quite jammy. And I feel like if those 3 players hadn't have returned like that, I actually would have been fine. Like I wouldn't have actually lost that much rank at all because the players I had weren't on many free hit drafts. So I had Jared Bowen, who got 10 points, and not many people had him on a free hit. I had Dan Burn, who got his header. I mean, it was just one of them things. Unfortunately, all these free hit template, they all just popped off, and it was just there. It's one of them things.
I have to do this. I do this on the channel now when anyone mentions Dan Burn. Big Dan Burn. Big Dan Burn. That's what FPL Nightmare does. That's what he does in relation to Big Dan Burn.
I love that, Big Dan Burn.
Yeah, he did. Well, he went on a friend of the channel, Roberto's podcast, and they did a quiz, and you have to like come up with your own buzzer. So you know, like mine, I think when I went on there was like. I can't remember what it was. Just make one up. Lady in Red. You know, that's my buzzer. And his was Big Dan Burn.
I can imagine him saying that as well, Big Dan Burn.
So what would you say, based on your experiences so far, mate? What are the positives and negatives of being a FPL content creator?
People love consistency. So when I was on holiday recently, I couldn't do a deadline stream for game week 32 or 33. And 32 I really wanted to. The unfortunate thing was just where I was staying, the internet was non-possible. I mean, like I literally only uploaded 2 videos that week because it took 4 hours to upload a 20-minute video. And I was like, I can't do a deadline stream on this. Like no one will see anything. I won't be able to do anything. So like, I feel like I was in Austria, but like the place I was staying at was it just the internet was no good. I don't know if it was because I was too far away from where the connection was, but I was like, but like I could understand because like if, for example, it's like because I work in education, I know exactly what it's like. If you have a teacher that's there every day and then all of a sudden they have a day off that's sick, quite often the kids are way off. Like they're way off because it's not what they're used to. So I kind of get it, like and understand it, but it's also like, you know, it's not my full-time job. If you get what I mean. It's
also like I could almost get them missing some of your other videos more, but it's not like you're short of choice with deadline streams. You know what I mean?
I know. There's heaps of them. Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny, though, because I thought it's also kind of nice. So, like, in my WhatsApp group, they go, it's quite funny. So, so they go, oh my God, I'm going to have to go and watch FPL Raptor today instead since you're not here. When I get comments like that, I was like, oh, that's why I do the deadline streams.
But to save you from having to listen to Roz.
I was like, it's just nice. I was like, that people actually are looking forward to the deadline stream that you're hosting is kind of a cool feeling in general. I just love doing them because, as I said, this dude said it perfectly today. He wrote a comment. Hold on, I'll read it out because it's absolutely brilliant. And it just sums up what I think I do. He goes, I love this guy. You want someone who just gives good info without overly editing what comes out of his mouth. And I was like, that's pretty much sums it up perfectly.
Yeah. Just to say, of course,
there's no editing. It's just raw.
I just have to add a disclaimer here. We are obviously big fans of the FPL Raptor on this channel. I do actually know him.
We are. I do know him. I actually watch his stuff. I think I actually find him, the fact he's a Man United fan, I really love as well.
Yeah.
And I think that I'll admit that the reason why I bench boosted him 32 is because I listened to Raptor and he really sold it. And I was like, and I did some research, because it hadn't been on my radar at all. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go for Bruggen and a couple of niche picks. And they suck. So it didn't work out well. So thanks, Raptor. But no, it was like I enjoy listening to him. I enjoy listening to them all. I think some are more entertaining than others. And I think that for me, that's very important. Like I'm just me. And I feel like sometimes some of the big ones are too scared about taking risks because they're like, they're kind of more worried about their rank. I was like, me, I was like, as long as I finish like top 100,000, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. I don't really care. I was like, the aim was top 10K and I'm on track for that, but it wasn't going to govern my season. I was going to do these decisions based on my feeling. If I got them wrong, I get them wrong. If I get them right, then get them right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Roz has come on the channel and, for an interview, and I was expecting him to be quite close, but he was actually incredibly open. Like, out of the big content creators I've had on here, some of them have been a little bit, because they don't want to break type too much because they don't want to lose subscribers or whatever. But he was actually really open and talked really openly, so that was good. So sorry, mate. I was asking you about the positives and negatives. So the negatives are what, people moaning when you miss a week, or?
Yeah, I actually haven't had too many negatives at all, to be honest with you. Other than the fact that, I've had a few people go, oh, where are you, or whatever, thing like that. But yeah. I kind of see that in both lights. Yeah. It's good because they obviously care that you're not there. Yeah,
they miss you, don't they?
Yeah, but it's also kind of a thing and I would get it more. I would understand more if it was my full-time job. I'd be like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But when everyone probably that watches my channel, follows me, whatever, would know that this isn't my actual job. It's just I do it for fun more than anything else. So, but it's good. Most people have been super supportive. They go and enjoy holidays, stuff FPL. No one, you can have a couple of weeks off.
What about the positives then, mate?
Oh, I don't think I've had. I think I've had maybe one or two negative comments the entire year. Everyone's going efficient with oh, we like your fresh approach, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been quite nice just getting into the community. And I think there's so many good people in it. Definitely. That sometimes, I'm one of them people that never takes anything to heart. So I could sit there and be called names or whatever. It ain't going to worry me because I can give as good as I get. And I think sometimes, particularly on X, it's actually really funny because some of my favorite FPL content creators, you would almost call them trolls, just trolling things, saying stuff that, is a bit outlandish.
I think I know
but I don't mind it. I think
I might know the sort of accounts you're talking about, yeah.
But social media is and I always say, so being a teacher, I have to talk to kids all the time about social media and the way it should be used. And I was for me, I understand why they want to put in bans on under 18s using it because I don't understand it. I was for me, I just see it as a laugh. I will put something out there. It doesn't mean I actually mean it. It just means I think that's my opinion on it. but like whatever. But some people take social media to heart, and I think that's where the lines are a little bit blurry. I don't know if it's because I'm older and I'm 38 and I've like lived in I've been brought up in a kind of slightly different society, but I just find it funny. Like when I see someone on there and someone taking a piss out of someone, I was like, this is brilliant.
Am I right in thinking that Australia's the one place that has banned it for kids in schools or something like that? Yeah.
I don't know how successful it's going, but yeah, it has been banned. But I still know kids are on it, so don't know how they're policing it.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about doing it here, but I don't know, yeah. Anyway, I like to think, D-Unit, there might be some young, upcoming content creators, a bit like yourself, like, wanting to make content in the coming season. What advice would you give to someone wanting to start out?
Talk to people that do it, and like, I think that. And be open to suggestions and feedback. Like I remember when I first put the thing in and I asked about that graphic and I got some good feedback on it about like the colouring of it, the colours it was, whether it was too big, too small, too much info.
Do you want to just describe what our group is?
Sorry. So we have this FPL Content Creators group, and it's a bunch of people that literally create videos or content, and we just spam ideas in there. And we ask opinions of others. And that's the brilliant thing. I was like, that's what I was lacking. And thanks very much to Tom, who added me, because I was on one of his streams and I was like just talking, and I can't remember what he was like talking about. I think he was talking about like he was trying on a shirt or something for like he was going out for like a suit. I can't remember what it was.
He was doing that again today in his deadline stream. He was showing off different things he bought from Amazon or something. Yeah, there's Golden Goal Fantasy Football. It was the first person who came on for an interview.
He's brilliant as well. Like, I love listening to him. He's got a very what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very nice sounding voice. Like when you're listening to someone on like a podcast, some people have much easier to listen to voices than others.
Yeah.
And he's just got one of them voices where you listen and it just sounds good.
It's quite smooth.
Smooth quality. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, smooth quality to it. So so get advice. Get advice, basically. That would be your main thing. I mean, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and then just and then don't be afraid to be you. I think that's the thing. You don't want to like. I think a lot of like for me, if I sat there and read out, and I think like sometimes that is my one gripe. I think like some of the bigger channels. To want a bit better of a term, do sound a little bit robotic when they're talking about things.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like going, if I'm excited about something, you can tell I'm excited about a player. Because like when I was talking about Phil Foden, I was like going, over that 5-week span, the first week I was like, he was a bit disappointing. I was like, I expected a bit more. And then when he got a goal the next week, it was an assist. I was like, well, he's upgraded his position in the team this week. Next week, hopefully he can get a goal. And then he got a goal and I was like, well, now he just needs to get 2. And then I had a dream that he scored 2 and then he scored 2. And I was like, what is going on?
D-Unit, by the way, listeners.
I feel like they would be like, oh yeah, Phil Foden just got 2 goals. And like they read it out like that, but rather than get excited about the fact that this dude's just absolutely popped. Be excited.
For viewers, D-Unit, we'll get onto it later when we talk about your current season, but he is in love with Phil Foden. He was tweeting me about him last night, and before the interview, we were talking about him again, weren't we? So, 2 things I noted. Well, one thing I noted as we were talking before we started, the card flip. Could you explain that to us, D-Unit?
Yeah, so for a lot of this season, I'll actually show the card. So I'm assuming that people can see this. So It's got 2 cards. It's actually my business card, right? So I got these business cards made up. And ironically, I've now realized what I should have done when I was in the UK. Instead of getting business cards made up, I'll actually tell you a really funny story. How PG can I be? Or can I be a little bit more than PG?
Go wherever you want, mate. Go wherever you want.
Brilliant. All right, so I was at the Bishop's Place, went up to watch the football. I think it was... that was probably the only good thing about the football that day. It was when Man United played Bournemouth and we got spanked 3-0 at Old Trafford. Actually, the 2 games I went to this year were Man United against Bournemouth and we got spanked 3-0. And I don't know how we lost that game 3-0 because Ahmad and Bruno that day just couldn't score, which is highly annoying because I had both of them at the time in my FPL team. And then I went up to watch Man United against Newcastle as well. And that game went even, well, the scoreline wasn't as bad, but that performance was probably the worst performance I think I've ever watched at Old Trafford. Wow. But I was in the pub and I was like going, and I'm quite a vocal person. I'm quite loud in general, and I love leading the chant. So when I'm there, I'll just start the chants in the Bishop's Place. And then I was like sitting there, and this one geezer that was down there, this young bloke, 19, 20.
Is that a pub? Bishop's Place.
Pub, Bishop's Place. It's at the top end of Sir Matt Busby Way. It's banging. If you want to go to a good atmosphere, if you're a Scouse, don't go in there. You'll probably get murdered. But but if you're a United fan, it's a great place to go. And it's cheap beers. It's only $3. Sorry, not $3. £3 for a 500ml Stella. So
nice. Can't
go wrong with that. It's pretty good. So I went in there and I was like, I chucked out a business card to this guy, right, that was like just following on. And he gets it. And he goes, and he lines his, like, he got his phone out and he goes, and I was like, no, not for that. I was like, scan it.
Was he going to give you some?
I don't know what he was going to give me.
I mean, if someone takes my business card and does that, I at least want you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to use my body language here. So how do you, but you said you use it in your videos, you like flick it around. Is that right?
Yes. So lots of people come on and like it's quite a common thing. I've actually had quite a few super chats from people coming on and actually directly asking for a card flip. Now, to put it into perspective, this card is actually called some unbelievably goat calls. Now, if you want to see, if you go back to the Game Week 34 deadline stream, on there, someone came on and asked for Cunha captain versus Salah captain, and the card landed on Cunha captain. And I said on the stream, if I was like, because of the fact I wasn't playing free hit, I said, if I bring in Cunha this week, the only reason I'm bringing Cunha in is to captain him based off what the card just did. And my mate that was on the stream with me, Alan, he had Salah captain and he changed Salah captain to Cunha captain based on the card. And I was like, you...
So does it have to be that one card or can it be any version of the card?
Ironically, I started off with hold on, I've got the old original card here. So I had to, here it is. So I had the original card because I originally was called KMP DK14 rather than FPL D-Unit. So I had a card that it was still FPL D-Unit on the front, but like the QR code on the back was different. And that card was the one that was still phone.
What the hell's that?
Yeah, I was like, so ironically, the KMP DK14 was my gamer tag that I've used on all games. So if you ever want to find me on Xbox, on Steam or whatever, type in that, you'll find me. And that's me.
That's pretty cool. So if you don't mind sending me a copy of that card for next season, D-Unit, I'd be very, very appreciative. Or maybe just flip it a few times for me.
So I got what I ended up doing because of that guy that was at that pub in the Bishop's Place where he went like this. I was like, you can't do that with a paper card. So I actually got some made up in plastic. So it's like an actual bank card. Works much more efficient.
Yeah. You did incredibly well to actually discuss that without actually talking about what you're talking about.
I know I'm good at doing that.
Yeah, if anyone is just listening to this on auditory wise, rather than the visuals, you'll probably have to go back and watch that bit again to get exactly what we were talking about. So next couple of questions are a bit of fun, dude, and I'm having quite a bit of fun anyway.
That's what I like to hear.
So we were talking last night. I think I'm the only person in the FPL community who knows your real name, but we're going by D-Unit because D-Unit specifically asked to go by D-Unit, but you were saying that's what most people call you in real life. So I'll just ask the question, how did you come up with the name FPL D-Unit?
So the D-Unit comes from a very long, I'm a massive 50 Cent fan, and 50 Cent this is going to sound so cringe, but it's brilliant. It kind of sums me up in a nutshell, really. So obviously 50 Cent's part of the G-Unit, which stands for Gorilla Unit, and which I thought was pretty cool. And I was like, being a 50 Cent fan back in the day, I thought, well, if he's part of the G-Unit, I'm going to be the D-Unit, and the D is going to stand for Destruction Unit. So that's where that came from. And then I was like going, well, and I always like, whenever I meet people, like people know that I like being called D-Unit. So like, it's really funny when I hear people like, I'm playing like this team and they call me Darius. I'm like, nah, the D-Unit sounds so much better on the field. I was like, when I score, it's the D-Unit scored.
It's almost like a gangster name then, sort of rude boy name sort of thing.
Yeah, a bit like that. I mean, like back in the day, I thought I could rap.
Maybe that's your third YouTube channel, mate.
The one that's in the bin.
So this one I always guess the answer to. I'm going to guess the answer is going to be no, considering you're in Australia and you've only been doing content for a year. I've been known to get this one wrong, though. Have you ever been recognised out on the street as FPL D-Unit? Not D-Unit, FPL D-Unit.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I was like, the day that I get recognised out in the street, I'm going to be a pretty happy person.
Yeah, you know, you made it then. Do you know what? I don't know if this is vanity or insanity, but I was on the underground to work one day, and I thought, I wonder if someone on this carriage right now, it was one of those really packed ones, is like listening to one of my videos and is secretly looking over thinking, I wonder if that's FPL Have a Beer. And then I thought, get over yourself, you stupid twat.
Well, the funny thing is, right, so I have this WhatsApp group, and as I said, it's like free to join. And so many times, whenever I put like a video out, or I'll just drop the link in there, so then that way people like have direct access to it, whatever. And it's so weird seeing like so many people in the WhatsApp group then send a photo of like me on their TV screen. I'm like, this is just a bit,
yeah.
Like it's cool, but it's weird at the same time. Because I was like, I always listen back to like my videos just to see see whether I'm using too many words or whatever, or if I'm just talking shit really. And then, but like sometimes I'm like going, I can't believe other people are watching this. And then like when people leave comments like, oh, keep up the videos, man, I watch every bit of it. And I'm like going, I can't believe people are watching every second of this shit.
There's something as well about, I don't know about you, but for me, if I see myself on a mobile screen, if I see myself on a laptop screen, it's fine. I don't get freaked out by it. But if I see myself, probably because of our sort of ages, you know, knowing the TV before the internet, if I see myself on a TV screen, I get freaked out. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, laptop and mobile I can deal with. I'm an FPL content creator. But when you're on a TV screen, it's like, oh my God, I'm a TV star.
It was really funny. We had this like, I wouldn't even know what you call it, like a gathering or whatever. It was like just a bunch of like teachers at this place, and they were on YouTube. And they're like, let's look up D-Unit. I was like, oh, no, here we go. I was like, it's just weird because none of them are into FPL. And I feel like if they'd all been into FPL, wouldn't have felt bad about watching it. But I'm sitting there watching, I was like, this is so cringe because none of these guys know what I'm waffling on about. It makes no sense to them. And we're watching me on a TV screen talk stuff about... Yeah, it was really bizarre.
Yeah, my mum and dad.
Funny, but it was bizarre.
My mum and dad and sister are all subscribed to me, but they've never watched the video because they say we turn it on. My dad says like you keep appearing on because he watches a lot of YouTube things with people I don't know, which is basically the interview thumbnails. I click on it, and after 2 minutes, I've got no idea what you're talking about. So it just clicks up.
You know the worst thing is, my mum watches, and I don't know why she watches. Because she's got nothing to do with FPL. I think she just likes watching my face.
Oh, that's quite sweet.
Shout out to
her. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part of the interview now. Just a reminder, if you're still listening up to this point in the video, please like to help it get more people to see the video. And please subscribe to help me get up to 1,000 subscribers before the end of next season. So we have a bit of
the end of this season. this season.
End of this. Well, I don't know. I was hoping that, but I mean, this is going to be coming out. I mean, maybe I'm already at 1,000 subscribers. Who knows?
How many up to at the moment?
825. I'm pretending I don't know it. 825.
100%. We can definitely do it. Guys, if you haven't already, you log on, subscribe, join in. If you're watching and you aren't signed in on YouTube, sign your asses in and press the subscribe button. It's not that difficult. It takes 5 seconds.
It's the big target, particularly for us new YouTubers. The 1,000 is like the bench point, isn't it? Where you sort of like think, you know, obviously we're probably unlikely ever to become Let's Talk FPL Andy. I mean, we're not, you know what I mean? But that's the sort of thing where you think, as a hobby, I've made it. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, like, there's nothing to say that you can't keep going. Because, like, I was sitting there, I was like, the reason why they've got so many more is because they just started before everyone. And they're just so consistent. And I feel like at some points this season, I'm like, oh, man, this, like, it wasn't a chore, but it was like, I've got like no time. Like, how am I going to do this? But then I was like, nah, that's not the attitude. I'm going to do it. And then eventually it does, well, I think, will pay off.
The interview that will come out before this one will be with FPL Fran. And he only started 2 or 3 years ago and he's up to 50,000. So, you know, it can, whether anyone ever gets to Andy's level, because he just keep going up anyway, he'll be the first million subscribers. But I think you could certainly, you know, make a space for yourself, if you know what I mean.
Oh, 100%. I think that it's still quite possible. Like, because of the fact that you think about it, fantasy football is not going to go away. If anything, it's going to get bigger. More people are going to play, which means that the audience is going to continue to grow because you've got the people that play now, but then you've got all the kids that are eventually going to come into it as well. So in about 5 to 10 years, instead of 11 million players, we're probably going to have 20 million players, which means there's more of a market. And if you're good and entertaining, people will come for the good vibes, the entertainment, and the info. Some people prefer like proper like data-driven stuff, and then other people just prefer people that are just them. That's what I think. And like I spend more time watching the people that I think are just being them rather than just
100%.
telling me what the info is. I want to know what you think, not just, this is the info. Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying to me before we started recording, you watched the Steve-O interview. He would definitely, it's Steve-O from Elite FPL. He'd definitely agree with that. Definitely. I would as well. So, the next question is, so basically, I don't, you'll know this, D-Unit. I basically got into FPL content creation because I'm a psychologist and I do research on FPL and mental health, which is why there's a bit of a mental health focus to the channel. So I'll just ask you a couple of questions about that. Have you ever, has FPL basically ever had an effect on your mental health / mood, either as a player or as a content creator?
I can tell you that it's actually really interesting because I've also done a unit in psychology as part of my teaching 1 year thing. I had to do. They get you to do 1 unit.
What year do you teach, by the way?
Don't teach any years anymore. I actually got a really interesting story. People will love this. I taught Harvey Price when I was in the UK.
I don't know who that is, but he's probably a... Tell me who it is.
Do you know Katie Price?
Oh, yeah, I know Kate. What, her son?
Yeah.
Oh, really? What was he like? Was he?
He's a great kid, man.
Really?
Absolutely great kid. I've seen some stuff. I'm not going to...
Was he one of Peter Andre's?
Dwight York.
He had a kid with Dwight York. Bloody hell, that's
so. Ironically, my mate Alan, who normally joins you for quite often on my deadline streams, he actually got me the job at Linden Lodge. Well, his company got me the job at the time at Linden Lodge, right. And and I rolled up there, and he goes, and I was like, I'm teaching sixth form, mate. And he goes, you haven't got a boy called Harvey in your class, have you? And I was like, yeah, I got Harvey. He's a decent kid. And he goes, Harvey Price. And I was like, yeah, I think that's his last name. And he goes, Katie Price's kid. And I was like, who the hell is that? And I was like, and he goes, do you not know who Katie Price is? I was like, no, who the hell is that? And then he goes, Dwight York? I was like, oh yeah, I know Dwight York. So like when people sit there, I was like going, so I remember I was so excited. The next day I went to work. I was like going, I went in and I had like EAs in my class, et cetera, because Harvey's obviously got some VI and I've got so much time for kids at VI. I learned so much at that school. I actually walked around home with my eyes deliberately closed to try and work out what they must feel when they're like experiencing like the world.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Try to do that around your own house. See how well you go. It's bloody hard work. So I've got so much admiration in that for them.
He's blind.
Yeah. So he's not. He's got a little bit of sight, but his sight is very much restricted.
Right.
He's got. So if he's looking at a screen, he'll have it like up to here like this. So his sight's not very functional, but he's such a great kid. And I was like, I went to work the next day and I was talking to my class team before the day. I was like, can you believe we're teaching Dwight York's kid? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, it's Katie Price's kid. I was like, no, but it's Dwight York's kid. Who cares about Katie Price? Dwight York, the footballer, the baller. He played for Man United. I was like, I told all the boys back home, I got on the phone. I was like, oh, guys, you're not going to believe this. Guess whose kid I'm teaching? Dwight York.
I'm just thinking about a kid who's like the most laid back in the world, like Dwight York is, but occasionally wants to show you his tits. I don't.
I'll tell you a really funny story. So when I was back here, all my mates sent me a message saying Harvey Price got he got a photo like at a nightclub, right, with like 4 or 5 girls like alongside him, and I said, you know what? I taught him pretty well, didn't I? I'm taking full credit for that.
I'm guessing you can't say to the kid though. I know, you wouldn't be able to let him know that, it's a bit like the episodes of Friends. I know that he knows, but I can't tell him that I know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So anyway, mate, get back to the question. Has FPL ever had an effect on your mood / mental health?
I could tell you earlier this season, I would actually say normally not, unless I'm playing one of my best mates. If we're playing head to head and he beats me, that pisses me off because I'm competitive.
Do you do those head to head leagues?
Yeah, we got a head to head league. So at the moment, he actually lost to my other mate Tom, and now I'm back on top in that league by points difference. We're on the same amount of wins, but I've been rinsing him all season, like in terms of like overall points. I'm killing him. Like he's 180 points behind me or whatever. But in this head-to-head league, every week he gets so jammy. He ends up playing teams that just have shit weeks versus him. Mate, and I always get the people that have amazing weeks versus me.
So is that based on your actual FPL team, or do you pick a different team?
No, it's the same team. Like your FPL team. It's a good way to like keep like, but it's annoying because like prior to this year, I would deliberately pick my team so I would beat people in that rather than what was actually best for my team. So I think that's why my rank prior to this year has never been that good. And this year I'm like going, stuff that league, which is why I'm struggling to win it, because this year I'm like going, I'm all about overall rank. I'm creating content. I've got to change my priorities.
So you've got your best overall rank, but you're not winning that.
Well, I'm currently leading it by points, but like I'm not paying attention to it. So every week I'm like, it's a bit like potluck, whether I'm going to win, whether I'm not going to win. Yeah, it's just, yeah. It's like an afterthought.
I've always wanted to do draft, but I've never done it because it's like extra effort. But I'd love to be in one of those. Because if it's just based on your team anyway, you know what I mean? You've not got to spend the time figuring out an entire different team. That sounds quite fun.
It is. And like over here in AFL fantasy, like draft is massive over here. Like, because you get round, because there's so many more players, there's like 18 teams and every team can field 18 players plus 4 subs every week. So there's a lot more players to pick from. Yeah. You end up with like 18 blokes and you all sit around for like 4 hours at the start of the season and you have like your draft and like everyone's got their numbers or whatever and you spend like a whole day getting pissed and just picking your players. It's great fun. But then you like end up picking players and they get injured before the first game and they're out for the season and you're stuffed.
Yeah. So this is a new question that I've added in fairly recently because you probably wouldn't have seen this one from the interviews you've watched D-Unit. What's the most important to you this weekend? What's the most important thing to you? Man United's result, or in general, but this weekend as well, or how your FPL team's done?
Well, this weekend, I hope that Man United get absolutely battered.
Yeah, I just realised this weekend wasn't a good example.
It's really weird because everyone on stream today goes, "You're picking Brian Mbeumo as your captain against your own team." I was like, yes, because if Ruben Amorim's got half a brain, he's sending out the 18-year-olds and Johnny Evans out there to get absolutely slaughtered so we get through to the Europa League final. Because if he doesn't do that and we don't get there, he's going to look like an idiot.
So, but
for that reason,
in a normal game week.
In a normal game week, I've enjoyed owning Bruno Fernandes for a lot of this season. Game week 29, I captained him. So quite often, I hope for the best. But this year, with the season we've had, I expect nothing from every game that we play except a loss. So it hasn't affected me too much. Ideally, we win. But if they're playing a team where I've got assets, I'm hoping we're shit.
You haven't answered the question there, D-Unit, so I'm going to say it again. What's more important to you? All right, let me put it another way. Man United can win and you have a shit game week, or you can have a good game week and Man United can lose. Which do you choose? In an average week.
In previous gone seasons, I remember this happened last year. So I was playing my mate in FPL and it was West Ham against Man United. Now my partner goes for West Ham, so when Man United aren't playing, I do kind of support them because of her. But we were playing and I had Jared Bowen right against Man United last season. And my mate, I was playing my mate in this head-to-head league last year and he didn't have Jared Bowen. And I was like, I just want Jared Bowen to score. It's so bad. I was like, I wanted us to win, but I wanted Jared Bowen to score more. And Jared Bowen got the one goal. We lost 1-0 and he ended up with 10 points. So I was annoyed about the result, but I was over the moon about Jared Bowen. So I don't know. I think that realistically, I'd prefer the FPL points over Man United. Just because of the fact that we've been so shit. We're not going to win the league at the moment, so I'd rather get the FPL points. But if we're in challenges for the league, I think I'd be like, I'd rather Man United win than me get the points.
You know, weird experience I've had. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the channel. Because West Ham is like my nearest Premier League team. And I went to see Newcastle, West Ham versus Newcastle, the team I support. And it was weird because I had two West Ham assets. But obviously I'm supporting Newcastle. So Newcastle scored two, and I was in the West Ham end. So obviously I'm supposed to pretend that I'm a West Ham supporter. So Newcastle scored twice, and I had to sort of pretend not to celebrate, but then I had what was his name? Arnautovic?
Yes, Arnautovic.
And I think he scored a hat-trick, and I ended up celebrating. I felt more like any other West Ham supporter in the stadium because he'd scored the bloody hat-trick, even though it meant they beat Newcastle 3-2. I had very mixed feelings about. I left the stadium. I was like, am I happy about that or not? And I was like, yeah, actually I am. My captain did bloody well. And I thought, yeah, FPL is probably more important to me.
Well, it's ironic. So tonight, my team in AFL over here, my AFL fantasy team, my team, Freo, shithouse. If you're an Australian viewer, shithouse. They were spanked tonight, and I wasn't happy. But I had some bloke in the other team that got me 132 points, and the scoring could be different. But 132 points in AFL fantasy
points
is a big score from a player in a single game week. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But my God, I think I would rather my team have won than him get 132 points because I had 3 players from my own team in there and they were all shit, just like the team. But it was one of them ones where it was like to put an example, my team should have been like a Brentford and the other team that we're playing against should have been like a Wolves. But the Wolves spanked the Brentford. So like it was against what should have happened. So it just felt bad in general.
Do you, sort of related question? Do you ever base your team or who you choose based on FPL? So are you more likely to captain a Man United player, or put it another way, would you be less likely to captain someone playing Man United because you don't want them to do well, or are you completely unbiased in terms of your decisions?
I'm pretty unbiased. So I've actually captained Bruno twice this season. Both times he was actually the better option out of the other ones. And that was based purely on what I thought was going to be good. So I captained Bruno when he got 3 points, but Salah got 2 and Palmer got 1 or something like that. It was like a really low scoring captaincy week. The second week was in game week 29, where I just thought that Bruno was the best captain because he was versing Leicester, and he dismantled him the first time round, and he did it again.
So pretty unbiased. Okay, last question in this section before we have a quick chat about your seasons going. What advice would you give to anyone who's struggling with their mood as a result of FPL this season, D-Unit?
I reckon, yeah, I understand this because, like, I've talked to Alan. Alan always brings it up as well. He goes, don't take it ever things too seriously to heart. And, like, all I could say, I played my bench boost this season, right, for 6 points, which, let's be honest, that was shit. Like, but I've left, to put it into perspective, I've left over 20 points on my bench 5 times this season.
Well, yeah.
And I've left Chris Wood's hat trick on my bench this season. So, like, if I had got some of these decisions right, I would almost be on for winning FPL. Like, that's unfortunately my benching this year. The one thing I consistently get wrong every week, generally speaking, has been my bench. I can count on like about one hand the amount of times I've got my benching right this season, which is annoying because I've had high squad value, but it's also been like a double-edged sword. I've ended up with blokes on my bench scoring and then blokes on my field not scoring, which if you sit there and invest too much time at thinking about it, you can be really annoyed at yourself. But like, I remember when that Chris Wood hat trick was on, I was like going, I'd put him on the bench and I was like, I wasn't overly convinced about it. And I was like, he's going to kill me, I'm sure of it. When the first goal went in, I was like, all right, let's hope that's it. Then when the second one went in, I was like, I hope he goes on and scores a hat trick. Like, I thought like, brilliant. He's scoring points on my bench. Just crack on. Just keep bringing the pain in. And I think that's the way you got to look at it. Like, yes, it's brilliant when you have a great week and like the green arrows are amazing, but realistically, you're going to have about 50% green arrows over the course of a season and 50% red. And I mean, like, I expect, as I said, I expected red arrows in 33 and 34 because I wasn't playing a chip and I was well prepared for that. Whereas other people, I've seen the other side of it this week where people have been whinging about the fact that if Van Linson got a red card, it gets rescinded. Why am I not getting 3 points back? I was like, he still got red carded in the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's a -3. That's in the rules. Like, and I can't understand, like, for me, I understand why people are getting annoyed about it, but like, I'm sitting there, I'm like going, well, I think that you've got to remember it's a game at the end of the day. And like, yeah, I was like, I played in games before, like in real life, where you're sitting there and you go, oh, we need to win today to give our chance a self at the league, and you lose and you're a bit downbeat about it. But I think it's always important to remember that at the end of the day, it's a game. It's meant to be, particularly with FPL, it's designed to have fun. That's what should be governing like the game. And I always remind people of that. I'm like going, at this time of the season, everyone's teams are very similar. It's fine to sit there and have a punt. If it doesn't work, and I've got a few punts this week myself, if it doesn't work, hey, it didn't work. But at least as long as you're happy with it and you have fun, you can't go too far wrong.
Awesome. So we'll move in the last bit now where we'll just have a chat about how your FPL season is going. So just to reiterate for anyone listening, we're recording this on, UK time Friday night. Well, it's Friday night there as well, isn't it? But considerably later.
No, it's Saturday morning now.
After a couple of hours after the game week 35 deadline. So how is your season going, D-Unit? I know it's going pretty well.
Pretty decent, to be fair. At the moment, Wolves versus Man City is 0-0 at the moment, 22 minutes in case anyone is wondering, timestamp that one. So my high point this season, there was a point where I got up to, at the end of a game week, 859. Now, I don't know if that's going to be my peak, but I got there and that was at the end of game week 31. And like I've been post the first wild card, so I wild carded late in game week 12 because I've always enjoyed wild carding either in game week 18, that's what I've done previously, just before you lose it. Or this year I thought I'd try something different. And I was like, I'll do it at the end of the last international break because there was a good, distinct change of fixtures then. And I feel like my team value just absolutely exploded around then. And I'm really happy. I think that's why I've had such a good season. That game week 12 wild card absolutely killed it. Bought in so many players like Kirkes. I bought Kirkes like 4.3, whatever he was at his lowest. And I ended up selling him on my second wild card or whatever when he was like 4.9. Like that, my selling price was stupid. So I've made like bulk team value. And I feel like that was my strategy at the start of the season. So instead of like people like that left Barco in their teams, I sold him after the first game week when he was done. I was like, whereas other people just left him to wild card. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm moving him to someone that might make me some money. It's like my transfers at the start of the season were based on who I thought was going to explode instead of waiting and just letting people rot on the bench. And I feel like that's why my team value has been so good. But unfortunately, when Haaland went down injured, my plan, which was to have him, all of a sudden I don't need this team value. So I'm very glad that he's on the bench tonight because I have the exact money in the bank to bring him in for Marmoush for game week 36, provided he gets good minutes tonight.
That's what I was going to say, because team value can be very important, but when there's no one to spend the money on later in the season, it still helps, but not quite as much, does it?
Yeah, like today I was like, I rolled the transfer today. I was like, I didn't know. Like in my mind, I was like, I've got Raya in goal. I would love Pickford, but I've made so many goalkeeper transfers this season for like literally zero reward. I was like, I might as well just expect that Raya's going to get me 2 points and just live of it. So that's why I was like going, really, I'm making a transfer for 4 points. If somehow the Spurs versus Villa game gets moved, that means I'll have 2 transfers. I can move an Isaac to a Watkins, and I can still bring Haaland in for Marmoush next week because we're probably not going to know until next week whether they're going to do that or not. So I thought in the end it was just better. And then next week now I can just bring in Sells instead for Pickford, who has Leicester at home next week, and then I can make a better potential other transfer that might work out better for the team for the next couple of weeks. It's weird though, because I'm free hitting 38. I've never done that before. So I'm like literally, whatever I do, I'm dead ending my team into 38 to play the fixtures now. So I feel like maybe I missed the boat by not making a transfer this week, but I feel like my team looked pretty good anyway. I already had Bowen, already had Mbeumo. So like my hits I took in game week 34 when everyone played the free hit, I'd already set my team up for this week, last week. So other teams that are trying to bring him in and take a -4, well, I'm not taking any minuses this week and I'm rolling. So it's weird. It's like one of them catch-22s.
I've only played my free hit once in game week 38. It was during the COVID season. And it is really fun because often we get a load of team news because, as we were talking about before we started recording, all the games start at exactly the same time. So if you use it in the right way, it can be really powerful because there's a lot of random stuff happens in players who haven't played for a season come in. Like I'm sure Kevin De Bruyne, he'll probably have a big send off in game. And have they got Southampton? I mean, this will come out.
No, they got them next week, game week 36, Southampton. That's why I want Haaland in for next week.
Oh yeah, so Arsenal have got Southampton. But for example, you could get Saka in. Probably not many people have for them. I think they're playing Southampton in 38. So you could really mess around.
So I actually think that it might be better. Like I've looked at a free hit because I have got the free hit.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking I'm going to dodge Saka completely.
Really?
I'm going to go triple Arsenal defense. Because I just can't see them conceding to Southampton, surely, with the defensive numbers they've been put up. But Southampton have been one of them teams where you expect them to keep a clean sheet and then they score.
Yeah.
Like they scored
That's
a stupid goal out of nowhere. And it was a bit like Areola conceding in the 93rd minute to some Southampton rogue renegade goal.
So the viewers will be able to know by the time this come out if you've actually gone through with that or if you're going to go through with it in a couple of weeks. Couple of slightly out there questions. How important do you think it is for an FPL content creator to have a good rank? So you're about 6,000 at the minute, you said earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
How important do you think?
6,180 at the moment.
How important do you think it is for a content creator to get subscribers, to get viewers, etc., to have a good rank? And do you think it should be important?
I think, to be honest, like I was sitting there, I was like going, like obviously Andy's having a bit of a mare of a season. Like he wants to finish top 50K. I think he's more likely to finish around 100 if he makes the risks that some of his suggested things that he's thinking of doing.
Yeah,
I just see disaster. I was sitting there, I remember having a conversation. Well, I put a thing on him earlier in the season, and I kept on raving on about Solanke, and I was like going, why have you still got Solanke? Like, move him on. I just wrote it, and he goes, well, he's got 9 returns in 12 games. I was like, yeah, but he's missed 6 games through injury. He's really only got 9 and 18.
Let's talk FPL, Andy.
Yeah. I was sitting there, I was like going in my head, I was like going, he's not that good of a buy. And then when he bought like Ndiaye and Calvert-Lewin, I was like, I don't know where he's going with these, but they just seem like big risks to take. Like
he's got a big Harden to use.
Everton players, he loves them.
but he had DCL. This may have been before he started playing. It may have been before. Well, it might have been the COVID season. He had him from the start of the season, and he did. I think he got like 10 goals in like 12 weeks or something. So I think he's got a real soft spot for him going back since then.
At the start of the season, I was debating about Muniz from Fulham or Wood. Like at the start, everyone was talking about Muniz, and I just looked at the fixtures. And I was like, I'm going with Woody. And my God, what a call that was. I've actually owned Chris Wood. I had him that time, and then I sold him. And then I bought him back for the price that I sold him for when he dropped. And then he took me up again. And I honestly weighed up buying him back again last week. He's been so good when I've owned him. But I just think the Forest are dropping off at the wrong time of the season. And I think there's better options. Like Wissa, I was quite happy I bought him for game week 34 in the end. He looks amazing the next couple of weeks. I actually think Wissa's going to be the top scoring forward over the next 4 weeks. And I'm pretty happy I own him. But like some of the things, I'm sitting there and it is a lot luck based. Like Phil Foden, probably my GOAT call of the season. For a lot of other people, it's probably their worst call of the season because like they probably owned him when he got pep rouletted and all the rest. But I owned him for 5 weeks where he was amazing.
I think Az might have had. I don't know if you're a comedy genius or not, D-Unit. But when I mentioned that Andy had a hard-on for DCL, you then managed to mention Wood, which, everyone makes content about. And then you said, he's got me up so much this season. Like, so many erection jokes. Like, if you didn't do that on purpose, that was... You've got, like, implicit comedy timing in there, I think, mate.
I actually didn't mean that either.
What?
He's my favourite player. I was sitting there, I was like going... I remember when that hat-trick went in and it was on the bench, right? And I was like going... how the hell is some 32-year-old from New Zealand where they just shag sheep scoring a hat trick and on my bench? Like, what has the world come to?
He scored.
I was like going, and my missus is sitting there and she goes, why are you getting so annoyed? I was like, because how is this happening? How are Brighton conceding 7 goals and 3 to this man? He's not even doing anything. They just find him and he's 2 yards out. It's impossible to miss.
He scored more goals at St James's Park playing for Nottingham Forest than he did the entire time he was playing for Newcastle. It's ridiculous.
I know. It's insane. I just don't get it.
And Triggerlips, who I mentioned earlier, is from New Zealand. He hasn't had him all season. And he said he hates leaving the house because the whole of New Zealand score, even if they haven't got him in FPL, the whole of New Zealand's excited every time he scores. And he hasn't got him in his FPL team.
He's been so good. Honestly, he's been like, I love him. I was like, there's nothing. I actually, one of the custom emojis I have on my channel for like paid subscribers is Chris Wood. but I've got Chris Wood as one of the emojis just because of how good he's been. So like I was sitting there and the description for the emoji is, when Chris Wood scores, you press the button.
I haven't sorted the emojis out for my members yet, but mine will be Chris Wood being like hung. Hung short and quarter because of how terrible he's done for me this season. D-Unit, what do you think should be considered a good finish for an engaged but average FPL player? So, not someone who only checks their team every 5 weeks, but for, and someone like us who, watches a bit, well, we're content creators, maybe not. Someone who watches a bit of content, plays, spends an hour or so thinking about their time every week. Top 10K, top 100K, what do you think?
Honestly, to be honest with you, I feel like when you think about how many people actively play the game, so what are we at the moment? I think there's like 11 million teams. I'm just going to quickly check that, so I'm not just spinning rubbish.
I think the active. I think the active is probably about 3 or 4 million at this point of the season. That's my
but like, there's so many people like that. Yeah. When you think about that, like, so for example, at AFL Fantasy, we have 120,000 teams on average a season. So like my highest ever finish in that was 5,000, which I thought was amazing.
That's tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah, when I think about it though, like that's way worse than what I'm currently on in FPL. I'm like 6,000 out of 11 million, which is just unheard of. I think like the last 2 seasons, like not 2 seasons ago, I was like kind of paid a bit more attention. I think I finished like 150,000. And I was like, I missed quite a few game weeks. I wasn't like as engaged. Like sometimes I forgot about the fact there was Friday night deadlines and stuff like this, and ended up with captains. I'm like, oh my God, why is he still captain? And then last season, I tried to get a bit cute. So unfortunately, between game week 30 and 38 last year, I kind of stuffed it. I was well on track for a top 100,000 finish, but then I thought I'd be clever and try and play my wild card later. And that was like, I think last year, everyone played at literally the same time. They got Haaland in, Foden in, and they just popped the 2 weeks prior. And I was like, I'm going to be a bit cute, try and play it 2 weeks later. All I did was miss out on the points that I would have got if I just played it 2 weeks earlier. And that cost me a top 100K finish. And I think realistically, that's a really good finish. If you finish inside that, it's brilliant. Anything else higher, because I think 100,000 is like top 1% still or something like that.
Yeah, slightly over because it's 11 million, isn't it? If you take it by that metric. Yeah.
But that's still really good. Like, it's not a bad finish. And, like, the fact there's so many people playing now, you've got to be on it. Like, if you start slowly, it's super hard to come steaming home like a freight train.
Yes. I finished 3K last season and 12K the season before that. I've only finished...
Wow, that's super good.
Yeah, I've only finished outside the top 100K, I think, once in the last 5. But I had a slow start to this season, and I'm now at 190K, which is my highest rank of the season. Because I think since like game week 10, I've probably, if I'd have been in the top 100K, I'd still be there. I'd probably be 10K, but I've messed up those first 10 weeks. I think from not having Salah, and it's just been an uphill battle. I was like 5 million after like 10 game weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Jesus.
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be my worst ever. I mean, my worst ever season is like 300,000. So I don't think it won't be my worst ever season. I've been playing for about 11 years, but it's not going to be far off.
So when you finished 3,000,
yeah,
how long were you up there for? Did you get that rank late, like super late in the season? Were you up there early and just hovered around?
It was my highest rank of the season. Every time, I think my 4 top 100K finishes are like 97,000, 30, 12, and 3. And I think at every time, apart from maybe the 90,000, it was my highest rank of the season. I have been 300 in the world once, but that was after like 10 game weeks. So that's
still impressive, man.
I'm still just a bit pissed off. The season that I decided to start a YouTube channel is my worst season for like 6 years.
I was sitting there. I feel like a lot of it, like I don't like you would know a bit more than me on this because I obviously doing the work in the psychology field and that. But I always sit there and say to like people, like a lot of things are mentality based. Like at the start of the season, when I wrote up my description, watch me on my journey as I finished inside the top 10K. I put the idea in my head then that I was
Wow.
going to do it. So like, touch what I do. That'd be pretty bad if I crumble over the last 4 weeks with 2 chips still to play. But realistically, like I feel like, and even like when I was sitting there and I talk about like, because I've coached teams like football teams in real life. And I remember we played, I would have been like under 16s. I coached about, I'm going to say like 7 years ago. And I did not have the best under 16s team. I had the 3rd best team by a country mile. Like so where I live, there's like a 4-team kind of like thing or whatever. And they have like this country week, like representative, and everyone always wants to play for the country week coach. So this dude always coached the country week team. So he pretty much pinched most of the good players. He had a stacked team, but unfortunately he wasn't, in terms of like his tactics and ability and stuff, he wasn't that good. Like I knew what he was going to do and I just counted the team to do it. And I remember this season, I had 14 players and I'd say 7 of them carried the team. I had 7 passengers, 7 really good players. And I came up with a tactic where I thought that we could just match this team and hope that we pinched a goal or whatever.
It sounds like
win.
Moneyball or something like that.
Bit like that. And then I was sitting there. So we were sitting there and we did it. And I was like, all right, so this is how we're going to play. And like, it was all about getting the kids on board, believing that, yeah, we're good enough. We can win. Like, and just having that thing. And I remember, and we did. We went through the whole season undefeated. And like, that's this awesome. Team was just shocked. But then I remember in under 16s when I played under 16s and we finished 4th. And like back then it was like the top 4 playing the finals or whatever. And my coach was adamant. I'm like, we can win if we play this certain way. And the top team that we played in the finals, so it was 1st versus 4th, 2nd versus 3rd. Earlier in the season, we lost 10 goals to 2 against this top-rated team. Absolute spanking. And the second game, he goes, all right, this is what we're going to plan for in the final. And he goes, go out there and play as shit as you can. Like, that's what he said to me. He goes, go out there and play as shit as you can so they think you're shit. And I went out there and I scored a goal in the first 5 minutes and he goes, that's it, you off. He didn't put me back on the rest of the game.
Really?
I was like, that's not fair. I was like, what do you mean? And then it was like sitting there. And so we got to the final against them. And it was like one of them games. I'd been on a skiing trip. I'd flown back in. I had an earache. And I was like going, but he was like, this is our tactic. We're going to line up like this. We're going to play defensive, and then we're just going to hit you and hope that you have a game where you're shooting and you're on. And I was like, brilliant. That's not much pressure. Let's see how we go. And then like I scored the first goal, and it was 1-0. And then they scored, and it was 1-1. And we got to halftime, and I firmly believed that we were going to win. Like he told me, he'd been G'ing me up, going, "You're going to win this game." And I was like, "I'm convinced. I'm going to win this game. I'm going to do it myself. Everyone just give me the ball. I'll do it." And then the rest of the team at halftime, when it was 1-1, they go, "Holy shit, I think we might win." And I was like, "Of course we're going to win. The coach said we're going to win. We're going to win." It's like all about up here. And then in the second half, I've never scored an easier goal in my life. I literally, like, being a forward, I just ran up. You know when like your keeper cooks it and it goes too long, and this keeper's come up to grab it. I've just jumped up and I've closed my eyes because I never head the ball. It's like the one thing I can't do in life. I don't head. And I've just jumped up and I just hear, and I've closed my eyes and I just hear the keeper go, "Oh shit." And I've opened my eyes and he's completely missed the ball and I've got an empty net and I literally just walked the ball over the line. Then it went to 2-2 and then I was like going, and then they were hammering us. They were absolutely hammering us. It was very close to going to the 90 minutes and going to extra time. And at this point I was starting to cramp up because I was like, I had not much sleep because I'd flown back for the game from like Melbourne which is like a 4.5 hour flight, and jet lag kills you over there. And I just remember like going, this game can't go to injury time. I've just got to score a goal and just end this game before it like goes in. And I got the ball. I went around 2 blokes and I just shot. I had like no energy left and it went in. I was like, I ripped off literally all my clothes and just threw them away. But like, it was like, I think it all comes down to mentality. I think if you think you can do something, there's nothing you can't actually do. It's just a matter of believing in yourself or believing in your team that you can actually do what you think you need to do.
I'll bring it back to FPL a minute. When you said to me about my ranks there, I was just thinking of you saying that story. Last season, I was in the top 10k for about the last 10 game weeks, and I played it safe because I wanted to make sure I got that top 10k. Whereas I think, had I believed in myself a bit more and gone for it, I'm not going to say I was going to win it. I wouldn't have won it, but maybe I could have pushed for a top 1k finish. Do you know what I mean? But when you haven't had that first top 10k, there's a tendency to play it safe. I guess that's probably what you're going through at the minute.
See, today I was sitting there because I was like, I know what the popular transfers in this week are. And Buemo, Bowen, I've already got them both. I've already got Wissa. Like my team I'd set it up deliberately last week, taking the risks, thinking I'll go a week early and hope that it doesn't kill me. I mean, Bowen got 10 points last week, so that was worked out quite well. Wissa obviously returned as well, and Buemo was the only one that disappointed. But I knew this week was the week I really wanted him for. So, I felt like I went early, and I feel like a lot of teams this week are taking minus hits to bring them either both in or they're only bringing one in. So I feel like I've got a bit of a leg up based on the fact that I went a week early. And I feel like I deliberately also didn't do free hit thinking this should work. Like my last 4 weeks, if I get through game week 34 and I'm still in the top 10K, I should be pushing for like a 1K finish because I've got 2 chips to come. Other people, in fact, almost everyone else has about 1. And I've got 2 I'm going to play now 2 in the last 3 weeks. So if I get a green arrow this week, I could really hope to I can't win it. And I kind of knew that after the free hit week because I didn't expect the free hit to go as well as it did. But I still think that I'm on with a pretty good chance, hopefully, of finishing in that 1K. From 6K, I looked at the top person in my league. He's 54 points in front of me, and he's ranked 500. And he's got no chips left. So, I've got the free hit, and if I forget the free hit right on 38, it could be a difference of where I just chew up 30 points on people in front of me that week. So I'm kind of hoping it goes that well because then I'll feel like, well, the blank game week 34 only cost me 20 points. So I've actually gained 10 by playing it in 38 rather than in 34 where I would have just stayed where I was.
Yeah, the season I finished 12K, I bought in Harry Kane because we found out Haaland was out. I don't think it was last season. I think it was the season before. And that one transfer got me from 35K to 12K. I was annoyed that it didn't get me my first top 10K finish then, but it really can. And you'll have the ability to get anyone in.
Well, yeah, I've got 7.4 million in the bank. That's why I was going, part of me, the fact that Haaland's on the bench tonight excites me. Because if he comes on in the second half and he plays 20 odd minutes, you would think he's almost a lock to start against Southampton in a week's time.
Yeah.
Before the FA Cup. They'll want him to have minutes before the FA Cup. You would think he would start because it's a week before the FA Cup and it's Southampton. If there's a differential to have, it will be just to make that one transfer, Marmoush to Haaland, and I'll just play my triple captaincy on him and hope for the best.
Awesome. So, last question I generally ask is with a top 10K manager, possibly by the time you watch this, a top 1K manager in the room with me, I'd be missing out if I didn't ask your advice, just general advice, D-Unit, on how someone can have a good FPL season.
I think it's about picking the play. I actually think from this season, it is about targeting fixtures more than anything else. If you do a bit of forward planning and look at when, this season, it's been pretty easy. Leicester have been god-awful. Southampton haven't been much better, but Southampton have been better in terms of getting goals than Leicester. And I'd say Ipswich are on a par with Leicester in terms of if you want clean sheets, target Leicester and Ipswich for the clean sheets. I think that's definitely next season. I'm already looking. I'm Leeds United are coming up.
Burnley.
Who's the other one? Burnley. Yeah. Burnley next season. I'll be going, if you want a clean sheet, pick assets, the defensive assets against Burnley. It's probably going to be.
They had an amazing defensive record, didn't they? But I wonder if that will translate to the Premier League. Probably not. Probably not.
I actually think if you want a hot tip for next season, I think there is no way in hell Man United will be as shit as we've been this season. I think that they will. I think. I mean, I hope they need to just flog off the entire front three that they've had this season. Højlund needs to be put in the bin. Xerxes needs to be shipped back to sideshow Bob Alley. And Garnacho probably just needs to be sold for 60 million because I think he's just overrated and overhyped. And I think then if they brought in like a Cunha and Bruno playing in the 10s behind like a Liam Delap who is available for 30 mil, I think that there's going to be so much potential. I think Bruno Fernandes could be the top scoring player next season with actual players around him that know how to score.
Would you get rid of Rashford and Sancho?
I think Sancho, surely Chelsea, I don't know. Already, to be honest. He did score yesterday, so maybe that makes them a bit more inclined to buy him, hopefully. He's just been underwhelming. I think the problem is that the Premier League for Sancho and other players that Man United have bought, I actually think that they should just sack off every scout they have in Italy needs to be sacked. Because how they've recommended these players, and we get fleeced by Italian clubs every time we come calling. We've not bought a good player from an Italian club ever.
No,
that I can remember. Even Veron was the jury's out on him. He was from an Italian. I think he was from Lazio.
It was Lazio, yeah.
But he was only good in Europe. He was no good in the Premier League.
You've given me a challenge there. I'm going to try and think of one, but I can't do it. I can't do it in an interview or beer. So. Your tip for next season is Bruno Fernandes.
I reckon he'll be brilliant next year. I reckon with better players around him. I reckon Cunha as well. If Cunha comes to United, he will be an amazing asset as well. And I think they'll score goals. I think automatically that will mean that they're in a positive goal difference. And I think that they'll be back in the top half of the table. I don't know how high that will get them. But I think that literally they've just been – I think defensively you can see what Amarin's doing. Like the defensive data says that United are getting better. It's just they've got no forwards that know how to kick a goal.
All right, I've got one for you. It's not a great one.
All right.
It's not a great one. It's probably – no, I'm not going to say it.
Go on.
Pogba wasn't terrible. He wasn't worth 100 million, but he wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
They got him from Juventus,
I actually didn't mind Pogba. So many fans hated him. I actually thought he was right. The problem was he just wasn't fit enough. And, yeah, considering what they paid, his level of consistency wasn't the best.
Yeah. I mean, he was good for the first 2 years maybe, and then he just sort of went off the ball, didn't he?
Yeah, Jose Mourinho didn't take kindly to him.
No. Anyway, D-Unit, thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much for everyone who's watching. D-Unit, did you have anything you wanted to say before we wrap up, mate?
Yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to FPL Have a Beer, get him to 1,000 subs. Make his finish. Look, he might not be top 100,000 at the moment, but you can make his season by getting him to 1,000 subs. So
Definitely.
You know what you need to do? Click that button. It's there somewhere that says subscribe. Just click it.
And I would definitely go and check out D-Unit's channel as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please like to help get the video out there. Yeah, as D-Unit says, it would mean the world to me if I get up to 1,000 subscribers soon. So please do subscribe. And as I say, this will probably be the last interview to come out until next season. So do enjoy your summer. Do keep safe. And I'll see you next season.